Hi everybody, and welcome. This is great to have this opportunity to spend some time with my beloveds and my friends and people who I love dearly and want to be with. So here we are, and this is a very precious time for me, and a time I really appreciate every week, where those who are really seeking and really wanting to know how it works will gather and we can talk about it. Because it's a process. One doesn't gather this knowledge overnight. One has to go through a journey, and in my next course that I'm doing next month, I'll be doing three topics as one course because each topic relates to the other. So you have to know about something about each of the topics to understand all of the topics. So, for instance, the first topic is going to be soul evolution, the evolutionary journey of the soul. But you won't understand that unless you understand the multidimensional nature of reality and the multidimensional nature of the universe. And then the third part is timelines and time and space. What are time and space? How are they created? What do they do? How do they influence us, and how do we navigate our way through time and space? And all those three subjects have to be combined in one. So I'll be releasing, the course will be those three subjects. The first one will be soul evolution, where I'll give the basics that are required in order to understand the multidimensional nature of the universe. And that will help us to understand what time and space and timelines are and how we navigate through those. But for each of those topics, I'm going to complete the topic in separate videos, which won't be meetings like this. There'll be videos that I prepare. So you'll get, for instance, the soul evolution will be, the part one will be in this next course. But there'll be another two videos that come out. So you'll get three videos in soul evolution. And likewise with multidimensional nature of the universe will be three videos. And then time, space and timelines will just be one. So altogether you'll be getting 7 videos for the next course. But they won't, I'll only release the videos as I have time to do them. So it will be over the next month. But they will be released quite quickly. I was really excited about the last course we did, Mastering the Hologram, because I think people are beginning to get it, that what we experience here is just the hologram. And when you understand the hologram combined with the creation mechanics of the universe, and how creation mechanics work. They're just waves of, light and sound that the positive and negative nature of light being positive and sound being negative, they join and they create particles, and particles create quarks, and quarks create atoms, and atoms create molecules, and molecules create cells. So that we have the stair-step nature of manifest reality. And it starts at the waves. And then at the Mastering the Hologram, I talked about how you can master the waveform through our thoughts and our emotions. Because our thoughts and emotions are waveform energies that can be measured. For instance, if you go for an ECG or if you go for a lie detector test, they put these pads on you and they measure the waves, all the energy, wave energy coming off your body that represent your thoughts and your emotions. So our thoughts and emotions are very powerful, and that's what I'm hoping that people will begin to understand, that taking back control of your thoughts and emotions. I didn't go much into what what thoughts are, where they come from, but just to maybe I'll cover that here. Where do our thoughts come from? Now, thoughts are just information, and we live in a universe of information. But what happens here is we're not hearing the other information that's in the universe. We keep rotating and replaying old information in our heads, learnt information. So we keep playing like a looped recording of information, and we think that's the only information that exists in the universe. But the universe isn't like that. If we open our minds to new possibilities and new probabilities and understand the potential that we have, that's basically how I came to understand all this stuff. Because I've been given information which is mind-blowing, and I was staggering. How the hell do you ever understand that stuff? That's what I thought at the time. But it's like taking the building blocks and building the blocks until you get to castle, and you say, wow, I understand this little bit of information, but it took a lot of time and a lot of understanding to develop that little bit of information, that building block of information on which I could build other information. And information that we've given here is just, and most of it is lies. So we're living in a world where we've been lied to, we've been told stuff that is not real, we've been given basic information which is twisted and turned, and it's controlled and manipulated, and it's like they're seeping through little bits of information to keep us happy, when the universe is just filled with information. And so we have to start, developing within ourselves the ability and the understanding of how to access that information and how we can make it real in our lives. So the next course that I'm doing will cover those next three topics. So the evolutionary journey of the soul, and then the multidimensional universe, and then the time, space, and timelines and how they work. And on top of that, you'll get a free copy of my PDF books, the multidimensional universe. Plus, I'm soon going to be releasing a new book called the Soul Evolution, the Evolutionary Journey of the Soul. And it explains so much about, how consciousness is what we really are. We're conscious energy. We're an energy form capable of great things, but we live in a world of limitation where we limit our possibilities. And this is all done through a very clever mechanism that the fallen ones have mastered here, because what they do is they keep us running in low frequency energy timelines, so that all we experience are those low frequency energies. And we've forgotten how to raise our frequencies, raise our energies, that we can jump into higher timelines. So I explained that in Mastering the Hologram, and I hope people get that, because we can, and in fact, we are changing the hologram. I did a post last evening on Facebook where I said, we are responsible for Donald Trump. He's not the one who put himself there. We are the ones who put him there. Okay, now the way to understand that, there's no separation between Donald Trump. Donald Trump is an expression of the same soul that you are expressing that. So it's like a ball of energy. And on the one end of the ball is Donald Trump, and the other end maybe there's you. And whatever you are putting into that ball of energy is going to be expressed somehow by some other being who is you, but not you. You have your individuated expression. Sorry, I see my internet's a bit unstable. Okay, it's gone away. So in a sense, we are changing the hologram. And how we changing the hologram? Now, if you notice, Donald Trump knows this stuff, I think, because he's using the same methodology. He's using thoughts, emotions, words, actions, standards, values, and attitudes. Okay? And he's using that same mechanisms. He's introducing people to the notion of sovereignty because he's saying we are a sovereign nation. Okay? When people understand that we are not only a sovereign nation, we are sovereign beings within a nation, that we ourselves are the territory of the planet Earth. And how we express that sovereignty within our own soul being will be expressed in the rest of the planet. So what is as above, so below. And it works conjunctively, and it works coherently and cogently. So a lot of the things that he is doing, and it's not just him. I mean, Putin understands this as well, as so does Xi. And I think Boris Johnson also understands this stuff, because I've been catching up with Boris Johnson over the last few days when, quite frankly, when I heard he was going to be the next Prime Minister of England, I thought, oh my God, poor England. Because, he in the past, he's come across as really, he's made some bad decisions and bad choices. But I spent some time yesterday just catching up with what he's saying recently in meetings. He had a meeting in Manchester, I think, on Sunday. And I listened very carefully to what he said. And what he was speaking about is how the government of the United Kingdom needs to serve its people. And he was really expressing to the audience service, that the government needs to service its population and be of service to the population. And I thought, wow, that's quite a different notion. I haven't heard that from any PM of the UK for a long, long time. It's all been, let's do this and let's do that. And it's all been a game of manipulation. But he was talking about how we can create new railway lines and new bus services and transport services and infrastructure for the cities. And it's not just the big cities, but the smaller communities need to be serviced as well. And how do we create services for those smaller communities? And I thought, wow, this is a different kind of consciousness. And we are creating the Boris Johnson. Now, we might find it difficult to accept that, but, we are a whole expressing ourselves in individual and individuated ways. And each part of the whole is like a part of a fabric. And if we hold our part of the fabric, the whole fabric holds steady. But if we are loose, we have loose threads in our fabric, the fabric begins to tear apart. And that's what's been happening on this planet. We create a fabric and then we just dissipate the fabric, and we become, self-defeating. We start accusing each other of this and that. And we introduce this whole notion of separation, that we are separate from each other. And so the separation of consciousness, you start pointing fingers at other people, we start blaming them, and we don't take responsibility for what's happening. But I think more and more people are beginning to take responsibility and saying, we are creating the hologram. And if we take responsibility, we change the hologram through the energy that we have in our conscious soul bodies, who are just the observers of our reality. We project in our reality and we observe it. But we don't take responsibility for our thoughts, emotions, electric, magnetic energies in our body, and we don't project higher frequency values and standards. what we project is the values and standards we have learned. And so we've adopted values that don't serve us, and standards that don't serve us. We easily accept the notion of going to war and killing other people. We easily accept the notion of going out and hunting and killing animals. We so easily accept this notion of dominating other people and being in control of other people, of taxing people and letting people be taxed, of making rules for people so that they're controlled. We easily accept those kind of values and standards, and we have to revisit them and say, whoa, let's talk about this. And that's what we're doing. That's the debate that is coming into this planet, is why do we do the things that we do? And for whose benefit do we do those things? And once we take back control of that reality system, we combine our energies, we create a critical mass of energy. So it's a critical mass of emotion, a critical mass of thought, there's a critical mass of values, there's a critical mass of standards, a critical mass of attitudes. And all of those things begin to change the frequency of the field of energy of planet Earth in which we had our holographic reality. Remember, Earth is not just a piece of rock flying in the sky. The Earth is a sentient being. The sun is a sentient being. And we are all part of a stair-stepped, multi-dimensional expression of one thing. Because although on Earth we are many people, and we're all working in our way, but we're working at some level of dimensionality. And then we have the Earth. Now the Earth is a higher dimensional being. You say you want to meet in the higher dimensional being? Look at the planet. There's a good example of what a higher dimensional being is. If you just, people just don't get this. You look at nature. It's a miracle how nature works. It's just an amazing expression of life and color and cooperation and ecosystems that work cooperatively and coherently with each other, and they create other things. And we just look at this amazing sentient being who hosts us here within her fields of energy. And that's just part of the hologram, because Earth is part of a bigger hologram. It's called the solar system. And you get the sun in the center of the solar system, which is just a part of the bigger hologram, which is called galaxy. And the galaxy is just a part of another bigger hologram called the universe. And I don't know if you guys have ever watched that video of a couple having a picnic in their backyard. And then the camera begins to zoom away from them. And they get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then eventually you see the state they're living, begin to see the oceans, and then you see the planet, and the camera moves away, and then you see the moon, and then it moves further away, and you see the stars and the other stars in the galaxy, and it moves further away, and you see the galaxy and the Milky Way, and you move further out into space, and you see the universe. And then the camera zooms back in, and you begin to see the reverse of all of that. And then it goes into the people's bodies. And what do you see when you go into your body? You see exactly the same thing. It's a fractal universe. Everything repeats. It replicates over and over and over. You go into yourself. My higher self once took me on a journey. He said, "Do you want to go on a journey?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do." And we went out and I did this techniques that he taught me about, raising my frequency, because he said this was going to be a really special journey. So I raised my frequencies and off we went. And I thought we were going off into space. And then I saw these stars and galaxies and lightning coming across. And, it was just an amazing trip. I thought, wow, we're in the galaxy. We're in the universe somewhere, like, where are we? And he said, we're in your body. Your body is a fractal of the universe. And that kind of really stunned me, because I thought, how can I didn't ever perceive my body to be this atoms rotating around each other and molecules moving off and doing things. And at the very, very micro and nano level, our bodies are pretty much the same as the universe. And like we have a heart in our body, the earth has a heart, the sun has a heart, the galaxy is a heart, the universe is a heart. All the organs in our body are replicated out in the universe and in the earth. And we think that we are so unique in how this is all structured, and how it works actually is there's a universal template, a design of the universe. And it works at many, many different levels. And I posted yesterday about Jesus telling the disciples, if you say to that mountain, be removed, and it will, if you have a faith of a grain of if you have a faith the size of a grain of a mustard seed, you will say to that mountain, be removed, and it will be removed. And his disciples were astonished. How could that be? But Jesus understood the fractal nature of the universe. Because when we were walking on soil, we are walking over mountains. It's just our perception is that is just a piece of sand and rock underneath our feet. And that big thing out there is a mountain. So it's just our perception. So if we can change our perception and see that the earth is just a small grain of sand in the structure of the universe, and it's a fractal system where everything is the same at all different levels. And in that fractal system, the universe is just as big as the nanoparticles in our body. And it's all interconnected. And the best expression of it that I can find is the torus, because the torus is just, electrons moving around in a circle. The torus is kind of donut shape, but not only does it have these electrons flowing round and round and round and round, it creates an energy system. It has magnetic energy waves that create gravitational fields. And the gravitational fields move the electrons. And at the center of the toroid, you get the 0 point energy. And that 0 point energy is the creative nature of the universe. Its creator exists in the 0 point, in that what is sometimes called nothing, in the void. That space of nothingness that creates all this energy. And it's hard to understand it, because we like to have information that is linear based. So in other words, you have one piece of information, you build upon it, and you create another piece of information. And because we live in a linear, we've been trained to be linear beings, and we can't think in expansive ways. But I think there's an imperative for awakened soul beings to say, whoa, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to do it a new way. And this is the way we're going to do it. We're going to expand our minds, expand our emotions, take back control of our reality, become sovereign beings again. We're going to raise our values and standards, and we're going to have attitudes of create possibilities, new possibilities for us. Because remember, our attitudes, having bad attitudes are what causes limitation. Having good attitudes opens you up to possibilities. Okay. Now that's something I'm going to be explaining in my next course, quite a bit. So if we understand that our values give direction and status, in other words, it determines the frequency of the timeline. So if we just keep living in this hologram that has been hijacked, where our thoughts and emotions have been hijacked, we're living in this low frequency experiences. It's like I explained to you once before, a television set. They've got several programs running at the same time. It just depends which program you tune into. And your tuning to is based on the frequency of the information coming in. And that's pretty much us. We've got many timelines of reality running at the same time. It just depends which one we're going to tune into. Science tells us that all time is simultaneous and all space is in the same space. Well, that's true. All time is simultaneous. You exist in different timelines at the same time. But your consciousness is stationed in this particular timeline that you have chosen to experience. But you have other parts of yourself having other experiences that we have been cut off from because of the nature of the training we've had, because of the nature of the control systems that were put in place. I dealt with this in one of my videos with Kerry Cassidy about what they call the blank slate technology, how the fallen ones created a system, a broadcast system that came from Saturn to Mercury, to Mars, to the Moon, and then to Earth. And basically, they were controlling the frequency of this planet. They set up little broadcast systems around the planet, and they've still got them. They're called cell phone towers, and they're called, radio stations. And now they've got the satellites in space. They are controlling the frequencies. So they are doing their best to control the movie that they want us to experience. So, but having said that, once we understand these technologies, we can say we don't buy into that anymore. We are going to change the nature of our reality. We can change the system because we know that we are in a fractal universe, and it's just a tiny little fraction of the universe that's been captured by the fallen ones. But we are going to reconnect to the rest of the universe. And we can do that quite easily, through our thoughts and emotions, taking them under control, having higher values and standards, and having good attitudes. It's not rocket science. There is something that we can actually do. It's like I was telling you earlier on, when I cut my hand yesterday, I said, that's a hologram. I don't appropriate that experience into my soul. And I will change that experience in my physical body by changing my thoughts and emotions, my values and standards. And I will recreate the patterns of skin and flesh and so on that damaged my hand. So if we can begin to understand how powerful we really are, and that we are creating a hologram. I spent 8 years as a grid worker, and without much human contact at all, just holding the Earth's grid, because I knew how the system worked, and I knew that if we recreated the Earth's grids because they'd been knocked out of alignment, and certain energy points on the Earth, in acupuncture, it works the same way. You have certain energy points in your body through which energy runs through. And the Earth also has these acupuncture points, and they're called stargates and Q sites. And they have been, because of the rotation of the Earth, had been tilted by 22 to 23 degrees. The acupuncture points were no longer connecting to the right points on the Earth. So the grid workers had to move the acupuncture, move the grids back into a cycle with the Earth. Now that sounds like, you know, Mr. Spock or some kind of fairy tale. But I spent 8 years doing this stuff, and I understood how it worked, and I didn't recreate the entire Earth grid system. There were 144,000 of us doing it, and each of us had a different grid line that we were taking care of. Mine was between the Q site in Iraq, which activated a Stargate in Iran, but I was responsible for the Q site in Iraq, in Basra, and connecting that to the Stargate in the North Pole, and moving that energy system, just through consciousness, just through visualization. That's how powerful our thoughts are. We can move objects, because like when do you know about spoon bending? When they bend the spoon, it's not the spoon that bends, it's the perception, your perception that bends the spoon. So you see a spoon bending. You have to figure this stuff out for yourself. But that we can do that. Our minds are extremely powerful. We just think of the mind as the brain. It's not just the brain. We have the God mind, we have the subconscious mind, we have the conscious mind, and then we have the whole mind. And the whole mind has the potential to connect to the mind of God and to the universe. So understanding these technologies is I was going to say vital, but it's not vital. Understanding these technologies helps to understand exactly how powerful we are, how we have the potential to change the hologram we're experiencing here, and how we can take back control. And over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see some big changes on the planet taking place. And just know we are the ones creating those changes. Don't say it was, the US military or, but take responsibility. I did that. I am responsible. And I did that through my consciousness. And keep doing that. Keep building on that and say, we can change the planet, and we will change it, because if we give our power away to some other being and say, well, I'm not really responsible for that, because, I just, I'm trying to change my consciousness, but I can't do anything about Donald Trump, the Attorney General in the United States, and I can't change the mind of the military people in the United States. Nah. The way it works, there's a grid of energy that goes around the earth, and it goes into our minds, and it goes through our heads, and goes out, and it all interconnects. And the frequencies of our thoughts and emotions are connecting to the grid. And that grid is changing the consciousness of this planet, and it changes the experiences that we have as well. So we are responsible for the things that are happening, and we have to take responsibility for that. And if they're good things, we take responsibility. If they're bad things, we take responsibility. We can't just take responsibility for the bad things. You also have to say, I created that. We created that. Together we created that hologram, and we are changing the hologram. And when we accept that responsibility, remember what responsibility just really means is I have developed the ability to respond, as opposed to reacting. So we don't react to our circumstances. We create the circumstances we wish to experience, and we respond accordingly. So when the experiences begin to change in our favor, take responsibility, respond to it, say, hallelujah. We did that. We're the guys that we're changing this planet, and we're doing it collectively. It's not just one or two. But my higher self told me a long time ago, you give me 144 people and we can change the entire hologram of this planet. I said, what do you mean? He said, because this planet is based on what is called the Fibonacci spiral. And the Fibonacci spiral spirals round and then it begins to collapse on itself. And in the universe, there's something else called the crystic spiral. Now, the Fibonacci spiral says 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, 1 plus 2 is equal to 3, 3 plus 2 is equal to 5, 5 plus 3 is equal to 8. And so that's how the spiral geometry of that spiral works. Now, this crystic spiral is different. It says 1 times 2 is equal to 2, 2 times 3 is equal to 6, 3 times 4 is equal to 12, and so on. So it multiplies, it's exponential, and it spirals out and in a totally different pattern. And it creates a different geometry. That's something that people don't understand, that what creates geometry? Sound creates geometry. There's sound frequency generators they put through paper. They put powder or dust on the paper and it creates a geometric form. But people don't understand yet. That geometric form also creates the sound. It creates a magnetic field, which attaches to our emotions. That's why the geometry of the fallen ones is so important here. That's why I attach so much to geometry, because that geometry is actually creating the magnetic fields around our soul bodies. Yeah. And in much later, maybe in a year, probably next year or later next year, I'll start explaining how we can use geometry to change reality as well. So we're just kind of getting started here, folks, and I just hope you bear with me and stay with me because there's a lot to learn. But it's not difficult to learn. It's not difficult. It's just that we attach to information that is a lie, that we've been lied to. And so we have to move ourselves out of our position of cognitive dissonance and become more coherent as soul beings. Well, I've done a lot of talking tonight, but I'd really like to hear from the rest of you. Hi, Connie. Good to have you. And Doris, hi. How are you doing?
Hi. Hello, Colin. Can you hear me?
Hi, Nikki. Yeah.
Hi, okay. I would like to ask a question, please. What is the difference between the Merkaba, the light body, the rainbow body, and the toroidal field? Is there a light? Is it all the same thing?
Okay, you're asking about the difference between the light body,
the Merkaba,
okay,
the toroidal field, and the rainbow energy.
The rainbow energies, okay.
Is that all the same?
No, they're not all the same. The soul body, the energy in the soul body is contained through a certain rhythm, okay? And that rhythm is the way that two counter rotating pyramids rotate around each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and that's called the Merkaba field.
Okay.
Okay, then the Merkaba field creates in the center where the just let me explain further that the sound that those pyramids make create a certain frequency, okay? And then the spin speed at which they're spinning creates a certain energy. Now, the reason why they counter-rotate around each other is because you have a top spin and a bottom spin. So you have these two Merkabas spinning, counter-rotating in different directions. The speed of the top one is meant to draw in energy and push it down, and the speed of the bottom one is 1/3 of the top spin. So it creates less of a drag. Now, for female energies, the Merkabas are females. The top spin is counter-rotates, so it spins around in the opposite to the clock, and the bottom one rotates in the clockwise way. For the Merkabas of male energy, and I'm not talking about male gender, I'm talking about male energy. Okay, so if you are transgender, for instance, and you choose to be male or female, or we can actually change the spin, but it depends what you choose in this lifetime and this experience, what you want to do. But in the male energy, the top spin is clockwise, and the bottom spin is anti-clockwise. So they're counter-rotating around each other, okay? And the speed at which that 1/3 spin creates the drawing and pulling energy. So you draw energy down, and when you're female, you draw in magnetic energy down, and you push in electric energy out. And then you pull in electric energy up, and you push in magnetic energy down. So it kind of is a pull-push method of how we connect with the universe. And that creates the interconnectedness. It's like a broadcast station, you know. It actually has a lot of the things that, let's say, a TV set has, because a TV set has capacitors, okay? Now, a capacitor is just the ability to hold energy. So when you get this counter-rotating pyramids, in the center it creates a toroid structure. And the toroid acts like a capacitor. It holds the energy, okay? And it sets up the spin of the electrons around. And for a female, they spin one way, and a male, they spin the other way. I won't tell you which way now because it might confuse you. But it also creates a magnetic field around that toroid, which draws energy up and draws energy through. And in the center, you have the 0-point energy, which runs from the top pyramid down through the toroid, down, and it goes all the way to the center of the Earth. Okay? And because the Earth also has a Merkaba field. Everything that is in manifest reality has a Merkaba field. So plants have Merkaba fields, and animals have Merkaba fields. Everything has a Merkaba field. It's like the energy generator of the soul, you know, and it works the same in all dimensions. But what happened here on Earth, the fallen ones got our spin. Instead of counter-spinning our pyramids, they put them into the same spin, but with different speeds. It's still a 2/3, 1/3 spin, but they were spinning in the same direction. And what that does, that compresses energy, which collapses the toroid field. And I'm talking advanced kind of spiritual mechanics here, but we'll get to that in the future, and I'll explain how all that works. But yeah, so you've got the Merkaba field, you've got the toroid in the center, and then it also creates a much larger toroid around the soul body, okay, which also has a 0 point. So you've got two toroidal fields you know. And you talked about the light body. Now, the light body, people are not generally aware, but we have something in our bodies called biophotons. And biophotons are little lights around every cell in our body. And there's a guy, doctor, I've forgotten his name, he's done a lot of advanced studies on biophotons, and he's actually created heating mud that he's using biophotons that surround our cells. And what is light? Light is just a frequency, a wave, and it's light is an electrical wave, and that electrical wave that is in every cell in our body switches lights on, and those are the biophotons that exist in around every cell in our body. And it's 360 degrees. People see the pictures of the beam sort of 180 degrees, but it's all around the cells of our bodies. And they're switching on and off. And they have what is called a flash on, flash off sequence. And that flash on, flash off sequence is based on the spin speed and counter rotation of the Merkaba fields. So, it's like a motor. It has a commutator and it has two brushes, but it's got three sections to it. So as the motor spins, it's going from AC/DC, 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 changing the waves of the fields of electricity, that create the motor. Now, that is pretty much how the biophotons work with our Merkaba fields. It's a flash on. My higher self called it a phase sequence system. Now, he told me that what had happened here on Earth, because we had been having our Merkaba fields in the same spin, it put us into a locked sequence. So that was another way we were controlled on this planet, so that the biophotons weren't flashing on and off according to the connection with the universe. It was being controlled by the fallen ones here. So the light body is just the electric energy in our soul fields that control the biophotons in our body. Okay. And each toroid has electrons spinning around it. And those electrons are connected to the light body of the body, the physical body. But it also connects to the soul body. And the other one that you spoke about was,
the rainbow energy, the rainbow body, I've heard.
I'm not really sure what the rainbow body is, to be honest. I hear people using that term, but to me, a rainbow is just a reflection in the atmosphere of light into different colors, which are different frequencies of light. Okay, so it's just the way light reflects, and I think probably what people, because I know people, I've watched videos where people explain that they saw this rainbow field around the body. And I think what they were just seeing was just the way the soul body of someone and the refraction of the light in the soul body that was reflecting, around them, that gave it the appearance of a soul body. But the rainbow body is not really something that I was told was part of the soul body. It's probably just the way we observe the soul body. It looks like a rainbow.
Okay. Thank you. Lovely. Yeah, because during the night, last night, I heard a big bang. I was woken up and it was my heart chakra opening up. And it was a lot of light particles just disappearing. This is the second big bang I've had. And I was explained again, that's just the residue of stagnant energy in the heart chakra, and that was quite amazing, really. It didn't frighten me or anything, but it was very loud.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we are changing both physically and energetically, and our consciousness is changing. But when our consciousness changes, it changes the genetics of our body as well. It activates certain soul codes in our soul bodies. The soul codes activate certain parts of our DNA. We have two different kinds of DNA in our body. We have what is called genetic DNA, and we've got junk DNA. Now, our genetic DNA carries our genetic history, our genealogy, and the information regarding where we come from, from a family perspective. But the junk DNA contains our soul history. Okay, and the soul DNA, they both have corresponding soul codes in our soul bodies. So all the information from our genealogy is then pushed. So every time you incarnate, you create a new soul code. And that soul code creates holds the information of your genealogy and your family in this particular lifetime. But it records the soul codes record your soul history. They say you were here, you were on planet Earth, so it has a particular form, it has a particular shape, and it's basically just kind of geometry. And when beings get to dimensions 12 and they go into the God worlds, those soul codes will then represent the flower of life. So as we go through our different incarnations and experiences and genealogy and so on, we're collecting these soul codes that are building a framework of information that in the end will look like the flower of life. But not in a two-dimensional. When we see the flower of life, we only see the two-dimensional flower of life, but the flower of life is actually spinning. Much more dynamically than just seeing it in two-dimensional. So if you can imagine the flower, if you see the flower of life, don't look at the two-dimensional aspect of it. Try to imagine it spinning, and all those little wheels inside spinning. And the one spinning next to that one will counter-rotate with the other one. So they'll be spinning in opposite directions. Yeah. And they're also spinning around the body. And each portion of that, of the flower of life, which is an expression of the soul, really, holds soul codes. And so you might have one angle and you might have a little angle over there in your soul codes. And each time you go through an incarnation, you create more soul codes. And those soul codes carry your history, your genetic history, as well as your soul history. And that information is also stored in something called the Akashic records and the Akashic records. The Akashic records are the records of our emotions, our electrical energy, and the Akashic records are the information about our thoughts and what we did and how we behaved and so on. And so I was talking earlier about changing the hologram here. Now that we've got into the subject, let's look a little deeper into it. When you're creating your thoughts and your emotions, what you're doing is you're creating soul codes, and your soul codes are creating information, and that information is getting stored somewhere in the universe, and it comes back. And it creates more of itself. So having higher thoughts and emotions is sending that energy out, and then it comes back and creates more of itself. So it's a self.
It comes back with a bang.
Sorry, say again. I missed that, Nick.
I said, and does it come back with a bang?
Yeah.
Like last night.
Yeah.
Oh, does it? Ah.
Yeah. We are creating the hologram, and And the way we do it is through the energy that exists in our soul bodies. And when we get kind of can understand this, that we're not only pulling energy in, we're pushing energy out. And the energy goes from us to others, not just to other people, but to the plants, to the earth, to the animals, everything around us, inanimate objects are picking up that energy, you know, and that's creating, higher frequencies of electromagnetic fields around us. And so we're like in a movie theater. And the movie we've been watching has been the old Charlie Chaplin style movie. And now we're creating this much bigger movie. And now we're going to see this 3D movie. And it's like, wow, this is awesome technology. Not that difficult. We can change things. We created 3D movies, didn't we? Now, in our reality, we can change the experiences we're having. And it's through the same processes because we're in a fractal universe. Everything is the same. It just replicates itself. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's very difficult to understand this. But it's not really.
No.
It just depends if you open yourself, if you're prepared to open yourself to the information.
Thank you.
Okay.
Colin, just a quick clarification. The Merkaba, the top one is spinning at X speed, and then the bottom one is 1/3 at speed.
Yeah.
In the counter.
Yeah, the top one you want to know is 1/1000th of a nanosecond. Okay, and the bottom one's spinning at 1/3 of that speed. Now, a billionth of a nanosecond is very quick. So it's so quick that we can't actually hear it. Yeah, and it's
So we just use our intention to the speed's different.
Yeah, and we've got this energy body around us moving around, and we can grow our Merkabas because you have Merkabas of different sizes, okay? And the more you raise your frequency, the bigger your Merkaba becomes. And I once asked my higher self, how big is my Merkaba? And he said, well, it's probably about 1 kilometer wide. Yeah. I said, huh? That's a very big energy field. There's some beings have
You mentioned at
yeah.
a previous time that like each one of our organs is its own Merkaba. So would you even use that to like improve your health, or is that more of a spiritual thing?
Yeah, well, I had to do an exercise early on when I was waking up, when my higher self made me visualize my Merkaba, and then he made me put my arms around and spin my body in a clockwise position and imagine the top spin. And I was doing that. Then he said, okay, now spin in the opposite direction at 1/3 of the speed. You don't have to move your body at 1/3 of the speed, just intend it and visualize it. Mm. And so I was spinning and counter spinning and spinning and counter spinning. I'd fall over because I'd be dizzy and I'd recover a bit and then I'd carry on. And I did that several hours a day, every day I would be doing the spinning until one day I was actually going to work and I took a step down a building towards the office I was going to, and I suddenly fell over. And I completely lost my sense. It's like having vertigo. And I lost my sense of balance, and I lay on the ground. People came and rushed up to me, and I had this briefcase, I had my tie and suit on, and they rushed up to me and said, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I thought, what the hell's happening? And I stood up and, dusted myself down. I said to everyone, I'm okay. And then I just stood there for a while, and then I heard this around my body. And I thought, hey, I've just activated my Merkaba field. And after that, my frequency, my energy just grew and grew and grew and grew. But when I asked my higher self, should I tell everybody about that? They said, that was for you. It would help other people, but you don't want to harm them in any way. You don't want to cause them, to do things wrong, because they need to understand more information before they actually do that. So I'm not encouraging you to do that at the moment, but just keep that in your awareness, and you can just begin to intend that spin, okay? And if you want to spin your body, if you feel that you'd be strong enough to do that, then fine, go ahead and do that. But because there's so many parts to the soul body that, I'm going to leave that for much later on in my studies to tell people about that. Is what they call the buckyballs. We've got the buckyballs that come from our thymus gland, and the buckyballs that come from our pineal gland. And they're going out in different directions. They come in, they come out, they come in, go out. So people, I don't want people to think that I'm crazy, although, they probably already think I'm crazy, but you really think I'm crazy if I start telling you about that stuff. I don't know if you've ever knew of a guy called Buckminster Fulmer, or what's his name? Connie, you probably know.
Buckminster Fuller.
Buckminster Fuller.
Yeah, Buckminster Fuller.
Yeah. Now he invented the buckyball, and it's basically a geometric shape that you can compress, and it closes down into a triangle, and then you pull it out, and it has all these triangles around it, and that's kind of what the buckyballs do. Yeah. Okay, thanks. We've been on for about an hour, so I'm going to love and leave you, and we'll meet again next week. And I appreciate a lot of the questions I'm getting from everybody, and I'm just thinking about some of the questions I got this week that I wanted to deal with. But yeah, we've gone quite a long time, so maybe next week what I'll do is just do a lot of questions and answers. Do a question Q&A at the beginning, and then we get that done with, and we'll carry on from there. Okay. Love you. Take care.
Real quick, Colin. This is 2:00 Eastern time, not 3:00. So I don't know.
Oh, right.
When you put that on.
Yeah, that was a typo because I meant to put 2:00. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thanks, Colin.
Love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.